business conversation.
My mind goes to the complete wrong
Well,
place.
like, get your mind out of the gutter, and like, this is an important conversation.
Welcome back to the reaction phase, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Josh,
and he just woke up from a 11:30 p.m. nap.
And I was sleeping on my couch.
My name's Louie. And I've been waiting for him. And I've been waiting for him for hours to do this podcast.
No, don't do that. You have not.
You wanted to do it during the day like a normal human.
Well, okay. We need to come up with a standard recording time because after the gym on Sunday morning, I text you and then I feel bad when you're like, I'm with the family, and I'm like, I'm a loser and with nobody. So yeah, sure, we'll wait.
A standard recording plan is not in my vocabulary. It's not.
We can do during the week if the week works for you. That's fine. But anyway,
this is great. I like Sunday night, Monday morning at 1 a.m. I like Monday morning.
Keep doing this. This makes me feel better. Like I'm energized.
Welcome to the reaction phase, your favorite Flesh and Blood podcast. Actually, we know it's not your favorite Flesh and Blood podcast because someone did a Facebook poll on what is your favorite Flesh and Blood podcast, and we weren't included at all. So your podcast that you are listening to now, that you spend your Monday listening to, welcome to that podcast. We're excited to talk about all things Flesh and Blood. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes podcasts, and other places.
Dude, it's Apple Podcasts. This is not hard. I don't own
a
single.
Again, I don't
own a single Apple device, and I know what it's called. This is not difficult. I don't understand you.
I use Spotify. Like, why would you use anything other than Spotify?
I don't know, but you're completely screwing this up, and the only reason I'm wearing these sunglasses is because the future of the reaction phase is so freaking bright that I can't even stand it. I need something to block my eyes.
All right. You want to tell them what we're talking about today?
I would love to tell them what we are talking about today. Did you tell them all the places you could find the podcast?
Reactionphase.com, people. You found us. Why do you need to know where
Good job. You did it. You did the thing. Today, we are talking.
Subscribe. You can subscribe and like it while you're here.
Nah, we're not doing that right now.
All right. Fine.
This is what we're talking about today. Today, we are going to talk about the brand new product that was announced, which, to Louie's delight, to your ecstatic demeanor, is a brand new player product. I want to talk about the importance of Flesh and Blood events in 2022, and then the content around those events, showing the game, casting, things of that matter, how important that content's going to be in 2022. We are going to talk about the market, and then we are going to have the closing crazy comments bonanza section with an apple and a banana and some peanut butter. It's going to be crazy.
From 2 weeks ago, because last week I was at Collecticon and I said, no, I don't want to record tonight at midnight.
That's not true. You were very down.
I was willing to. My flight was at 5 a.m. though, and it would have been a horrible idea because I had to do my vlog, and I did my vlog, and I got done with my vlog at 1 a.m. So I got 3 hours of sleep as it was.
That's true. Let's get this out of the way. Louie was so let's address this right away. We missed a week last week. Louie was actually at Collecticon. He offered to record. He was an absolute warrior and said, hey, are we still doing this? And I said, nah, dude, you're on vacation. Go ahead and do it. And then you're like, oh, why don't you maybe find a guest or something? Or I suggest I'll find a guest. And I asked John of HometownTCG. I was like, bro, how much would you love to be on the reaction phase with me right now? And he responded with, nah. So
not my cup of tea.
So I got a strong nah.
He's like, that podcast wasn't even selected as one of the top podcasts. Why would I be on that?
Yeah, I got a strong nah. And then we decided to go, let's wait until next week. So we are back, but let's get into our first topic of this week. And that is the new player product. Louie, break it down for us. Let's talk about the brand new product.
I got to break this news. I was stoked that nobody else got to it before I did. Somebody sent me an email with a screenshot. I was like, hey, you can use this. It was a screenshot from Internal Correspondence, which is this like magazine. And then I posted it, and like it was fun. Like people were other content creators were taking screenshots of my post and then cutting my
credit.
No, But to be fair, I didn't give credit to the person who gave it to me, and they didn't ask for it. They said, hey, you could, share this, this is for you. But like, it was great. I love that when that happens. So it was cool. Yeah, so there's a internal correspondence, which is like a magazine for LGSs. I think it's a pay to play magazine. Like you know, as a game, you pay to have your game kind of anyway. There's a new product coming out. We know the product is coming out in April, and it's a deck that is between
It's the Reinhard Dory, right?
Reinhard Dorinthia blitz decks, 40 card decks with cold foil heroes and cold foil weapons, and a 45 page lore book. So yeah, let's hop in. Let's talk about it. You want to give your takes first? You want me to give my takes?
No,
first?
you go first, because I have a whole video this week planned around this product.
Oh, that's great. I just made a little post about it. I think it's great to have a new player product. You know, I've talked about this. We need something to widen the front door of people coming into Flesh and Blood.
I was really hoping you would mention the phrase backdoor sometime during this podcast.
That's my new favorite.
Early.
Front door, backdoor is my new favorite conversation to have. And honestly was astounded at my ProQuest this weekend at how many people were talking about that conversation too in their local metas. But anyway, we won't get into it. The front door product where people can pick up a deck, play with their friends, have something cool, and like battle it out. Like I remember doing dual decks in Magic were my favorite product. I hated when they got rid of dual decks. And so I think this is sweet. I think it's a great product. I think it's a great idea. My initial 99% of my attitude is like, this is awesome. We need it. I have a lot of other takes, but I will leave it at my positive one for now.
Okay. So this is kind of why I wanted you to take lead. And this is, I'm going to spoil my entire video right now, but I think people who watch me hate watching any content with you in it. So I'm down. I'll spoil it. Yeah, they won't watch it right now. It's fine.
Yeah.
Gosh,
why is that? Why do people hate me so much?
Oh, no. People either love you and hate me or love me and hate you.
That's stupid. I feel like we're kind of like...
We are not the same person. Dude, look at how much better looking I am. Look on the side profile.
You have to wear glasses.
I don't have to. I choose to show
You're
the
wearing
audience
sunglasses inside.
I'm so much cooler than you. It's insane how much cooler I am than you.
I don't know how to take this right now.
On the chin. Just take it.
New player product. Continue.
So it's a new player product, and you mentioned the phrase you just used was the Magic Duel decks. You're like, oh, when they stopped reprinting the Magic Duel decks, I was lost, or I didn't like it. I bought the Magic Duel decks. We always played with them. I never consumed the Magic Duel decks.
Oh my gosh, I hate great times.
I hate the Magic Duel decks. Precon Commander that is completely like unmodified or anything like that. I'm like, I'm kind of out on that. So you and I are completely opposite consumers of the game. When this product came out, part of me was super butthurt that it wasn't a new set that me as a build and armory player or competitive player.
I'd rather have a pre-release. Of course I would. Like we've already had that conversation.
Yes,
that conversation's had. No, I mean, come on.
No, I'm not. But part of me was upset. But then there was another switch. There was another little piece of the back of the Hometown TCG brain that was like, oh, but the antithesis to that, the antithesis to this product does nothing for me. I'm not even going to buy it for the cold foil heroes. I've assembled the super friends. I won, welcome to Wraith Farewell weekend. But the antithesis to that was that, oh, this is really cool for people who might have never interacted with Flesh and Blood or might have only interacted with Flesh and Blood up to a certain point. So while part of me was very upset and I was like, I really wish this was, even if it was a supplemental product, if it was a bunch of reprints, whatever it might be, I was super excited about. I was still excited because it's a great opportunity to get new players into our game, to get people watching and playing Flesh and Blood, from ground zero. So that's an exciting point as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think so. And you brought up the cold foils, and I will bring my positive spin on the potential that they reprint the cold foil heroes that they just released at the Farewell to Wraith event, and they reprint the cold foil weapons. My positive spin is that they will not be reprinting those cold foil heroes or weapons, and that we are going to get new young heroes that you will then be able to do whatever you want to do, your little deck techs and whatever. We'll get new young heroes. We will see a young light warrior Dorinthia that has Dorinthia.
Are you demeaning my content? Oh, you're saying okay.
I'm saying.
Oh, you're saying like we'll get like a light warrior and like a shadow Reiner.
No, it's not going to be Shadow Reiner. They're going to give us the next talent for the Savage Lands. Savage Lands? Is that what it is? Yeah. For the Savage Lands, which will be the next set, even though I think it's going to be Pits. They will give us the next talent, and it will be Burging. I don't know, whatever your talent wants to be.
So your hot take here.
Yeah,
and this is actually kind of a hot take. This is a hot take.
This is a hot take. I didn't want to say it, but this is a hot take.
This is a coffee take. This is and I know how much you love that. This is a coffee take that, wow. So you think we're going to get talented Rhinar and talented Dorinthia for Blitz out of this set?
That is my positive spin on what I actually think will happen against what I actually think will happen. I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to assume the best in LSS. And that is my way of doing that.
I think you're just leaning in and hitting your head against certain buzz phrases like positive and hot take. I think you just want to say those two things as many times as you can.
I think that's a great product. Like I think that would be a great product.
Untalented. If all it does is use existing cards and it gives players two decks that are slightly above the what do we call them? Are they the learn to play decks when a set comes out? What are they called? They're just the Blitz decks. They're the Monarch Blitz decks. If the product is slightly better in quality than those, and the decks are slightly more competitive. I'm not saying we need legendaries in the equipment slot. They're slightly more competitive and they play against each other in really close matches back and forth. Then I am 100% down without the talents. My fear, just my fear, is if we look back, if we harken back to Blitz season that was like last year, is that the Dory deck is just going to blow the Reiner deck out of the water. Like it's not even going to be close. Like Dory was a viable Blitz hero for some time. And people didn't play Reiner back when John and I were doing Blitz deck techs and stuff like that. We did a Reiner Blitz deck tech, and it took like a week and a half of playtesting every night to get a viable Reiner build that could get there against the popular Blitz format. So I think it's not going to be a good product if one deck just blows the other out of the water. But if they're competitive decks, they go back and forth, they can win, 60-40 or even 50-50, something like that. I think this is a super cool product, and it's something I will definitely keep around for like teaching to play moments. I'll take it with me to events and stuff like that. It's exciting in that manner.
I think.
Oh my God! Don't say hot take again.
I stopped myself. $40 deck, $40 product, CNC in the Reiner deck, and Light and Strike in the Dory deck. $40 product. You get the cost basis down on those cards, and that makes it a little bit more competitive for Reiner. Because if you get CNC, then you're gonna have a decent game.
You ruin this for me. I think there will be a copy of CNC and a copy of Enlightened Strike in the deck.
Right, that's what I'm saying. $40 cost basis. That is my positive spin on this product.
Okay, you know what? Fine. You know what? You baited me. You did it. Good job. You got me. What's your negative take, Louis?
This needs to be a $40 or less product. Like this needs to be a $40 or less. Yeah. Product. If this is over $40,
I think it needs to be way less. I think it needs to be way less.
It concerns me that there's a book in there. Like how high quality that book will kind of dictate the price. The cold foils, you get 4 cold foils in there. This going back to the reprinting, like I hope that it's at least different artworking. I kind of said my positive spin on this is that we'll see a talented young hero. I think that would be a really, really cool way to do it. And then you're not. I know that they are allowed to reprint the cold foils because of the reprint policy of promos. But look, we just had the farewell event, and like it kind of seems like I don't know. Not that there's it kind of seems like it's not devaluing, but making it special. It used to be special. That was a special event, and if you just reprint those in this deck, they're gonna be $5 kind of chaff. Like I don't know. Like, I don't want to see those
You're saying
reprinted.
if they're the exact same printing as what I have on the shelf, what you could get at the Welcome to Wraith event, that kind of
Yeah,
devalues.
it's just, I don't care about the value. I care about
Maybe emotionally
yeah,
devalues
exactly.
the cold foils from the Welcome to Wraith event. Okay,
So that's why
I
I
can see
like the
that. Where'd
idea
you get
that they're
four cold foils from? Just out of curiosity, was that in the article?
yeah, you get a cold,
I
it's gonna be a
didn't
cold
read your posts. I don't read
yeah.
TCG content.
It's a cold foil hero and weapon, is what it said. So it also
Okay,
is going to be hypothetically reprinting the cold foil weapons that were used for promos for the armor kits, the first round of the armor kits. Or
okay.
maybe they were crew. I can't remember where they were, but the cold foil Anothos and cold foil Dawnblade. So like
The cold foil romping club, because if you reprint the cold foil,
oh sorry, I was looking at Bravo on your screen while I was saying that.
He's really good looking right back there. I don't blame you, but yes,
I was looking
I
at
get
Bravo
I get what
screen.
you're saying 100%. You're throwing this talent idea out there. I don't think we're gonna see that here. I think this is truly gonna be just Dory Reinar, which means it's not a product meant for me. And I came to terms with that. I'm okay with that because it's a product I can use as a tool to introduce people to Flesh and Blood, to get people playing Flesh and Blood. So I like the idea of that. I'm happy about that. I am sad. Again, this whole week on stream and on the channel has been, random people or from around, locals and members of Hometown TCG Ascent and stuff like that playing, prepping for ProQuest, submitting their ProQuest list, talking about them. That's been the whole week. So it's weird to kind of in the middle of that week begin, hey, our big product, one of the big product announcements has nothing to do with you, and to like be happy about that. But I think I'm in a positive space about it. Although again, I'm gonna admit it took me a minute, because when I first saw the announcement, I was like, blah, this doesn't help me at all.
This is a great product for new players, new
I love it.
people.
Yeah.
I honestly think that it's not just going to be those two decks. Like I think there will be two kits.
There's got to be a Katsu Bravo
Yeah,
one, right?
it seems weird to not do that to me. Again, I'm not LSS. They do things that I want to do all the time. So like it seems weird to just pick, all right, here's two of the 4 WTR heroes. And like how long are we gonna wait to get, that seems weird. I honestly think that we're gonna get those. Another thing that I wish that they would have done, again, I think this is a fantastic product. I'm excited about it, but I think they missed a opportunity to have a sealed 40 card deck and then a second sealed 20 card deck that you then put together to make your CC deck. Like I think that would have been a really cool idea. So just another thing that I think could have been pretty cool.
Sure, but like, at what point does it stop?
I get it. I get it.
I'm actually a big fan of them doing blitz decks, and this is something I've really loved. They're doing blitz decks as like the intro decks. They don't have anything called an intro deck, but the blitz deck is the intro deck. And when you look at blitz, when you put up the criteria for blitz and the criteria for classic constructed on paper, right? Blitz is closer to your intro format than classic
100%.
constructed. And I 100% just offended a hardcore blitz player that's going to tell me in the comment section why blitz is way harder. But I like, you can take this blitz deck, you can play the quick, put them together and smash up kind of Flesh and Blood, shorter life total, shorter game. You can play that deck, and then you can own that. And when you want to start getting into the classic constructed world, they don't give you a 20 board or 20 card sideboard that you slap in and make a CC deck. This is now you're into the realm of add the cards that you've opened from packs. It's your time to own this.
Yeah, it incentivizes you to
deck.
Invest into it. I can see that.
Well, and it also incentivizes you maybe for the first time, instead of just grabbing the second stack and smashing them together, right?
Deck build. Go to watch your channel where you'll have an upgrade kit, upgrade guide. And
we're really hammering this point home. This has nothing to do with my content. I just like when people lay out decks and start thinking about what are these cards doing. They see their first blue to red ratio in a hero deck. They see their first. Well, why is there this many blues? Why are these the blues that show for the first time they see that? And I think that's important. I think that's an important step in this game. At least it was for me. So I like the fact that there isn't any hey, this is how you turn this into a CC deck. Now, someone like me will come along and ruin that and be like, add these cards to make this a CC deck. Right. Boom, there you go, people. Because some people want quick and easy. But I like this product. I'm glad they're not doing a CC. So I think you're wrong there. But
Well, so like
it's a
I
pretty
think it
sweet product.
depends on your local scene and meta too. Like people I play with and who I hang out with do not like Blitz. They don't want to play Blitz. They don't want to do Blitz. That's just not their thing. So
That's that's
like
kind of like an epidemic because my scene wasn't like that. My scene was like, and I was a big proponent of because I was leaving. I would go home from work,
yeah.
right? And after work, I'd stop by and play at the LGS. So Blitz was nice just because it was quicker, it was faster. I'd get home to the family sooner. Now everyone's like, I hate Blitz. Is
Yeah.
this a new thing? Is that the thing?
I
People hate Blitz?
this has been a thing for around me, like that people just do not like Blitz. And so like to be like, hey, this is your first deck, let's all play Blitz, and you've heard, no, I don't like Blitz. I don't know. I think it's just probably a regional thing or whatever. I still think it's a fantastic product, still super excited about it. And I also think that they listened to some things from the community, which is really good. Like people saying that they wanted more interaction with the lore, and like this has a lore component and will have the lore book. Like they listened to people in the community who said they wanted something, and they are doing things. So like that's healthy and that's great. And I know some people who are excited about it just for the lore book. Again, if that lore book is like a heart,
All things that miss me. Woo.
really, I dude, I hear
Yeah.
all the time, like 2 or 3 people. The first thing they said or the first thing they did when they saw this, they messaged me. They're like, "Dude, we're finally getting a lore book. I can't get the So I think that's cool. Like I think it's listening to some people in the community, and yeah, no, I think all in all, it's a cool product. I think it's really important to know what the price is. If it's over $40, I think that's going to be a miss.
I do think that's important. Now, if it's $40, that comes out to what, $20 per deck, right? Because it's
Yeah.
both decks are in the product. You don't buy them separate.
Yep.
Both decks are in the product. I really hope maybe this is going to date me. Magic the Gathering starter products. They had decks that played against one another.
Like the
I think it was
starter decks,
yeah.
those
So
are
do you
usually
remember
free.
do you remember Starter Edition
Yes, I
with
do.
the had the little star
Yeah.
and you got the Wizardrix or the
Well, yeah, it
org?
depends on what year you got, probably, but yeah.
Oh, I got the one that's older than you because I'm way older and clearly cooler. We've talked about this already, but that had when you open this deck, it had a guide who was like, "Don't shuffle, like don't shuffle this deck," because what it did is it played the first 2 turns. There was a
That's
walkthrough
cool.
of the first 2 turns,
Mm-hmm.
and then it said, "Okay, now free for all." So that was neat, and I kind of hope to see that here because players that want to buy these, I want them to be so a couple things. I want them to be competitive with one another. I think they're going to contain a CNC and an E strike, so I think we're good there. And I want them to contain a don't shuffle this deck. These are
Yeah.
your first 2 turns, and if you and your buddy just bought this off the shelf at the LGS, this is how you play this game. And I think that gets more people sitting around. And this will lead to people getting rules wrong. This will lead to you and me being friends, walking into the game store, playing the first 2 turns. And then once we're off book and off script, we will do things wrong. But we get the chance to enjoy the game together. There's no
Yeah.
pressure. There's nothing that, and there's something that we have an idea of game mechanics so we can get in and we can go. So that's what I want to see out of this product. And until you mentioned it, I didn't think there was a world where this product was over $40. That didn't even cross my mind. But now that you've said it out loud and you've really emphasized the 4 cold foils, and we've talked about the CNC and the E strike, which I think we both think are going to be in there, which we thought before. This is the first time we've talked in over a week,
Yeah.
which is
Literally, we
little
start
sad.
the podcast and we start filming. We don't even talk before that.
That's why I'm wearing the sunglasses, to hide the tears from being ignored for over a week.
We could call each other. You don't call me either. Like
I called you and you said you can't talk. You were in a very important business meeting.
I don't remember. Oh yeah, I probably was.
Very, very important business meeting.
Yeah.
But so that's now that fear's in my head. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. But if it contains, let's say 2 of those things that I outlined, I think it's going to be a good product. Now I'm super afraid. Now you got me on the back.
The misses for this is if it's more than $40 because that's not an intro product, right? Like it's not
Sure.
like and then the other miss for this is if it's like I'll tell you what the other miss. If this is like when they reprinted the playmat thing and then like no stores ever got them, like that's another miss. Like I never even got offered play mats that they sold, like that you can sell that aren't the Armory Kit ones. And so like that's another miss. Like if this is short printed or something, like I think this needs to be like Monarch Blitz decks, which is like you can't, like those sit on the shelf, and it's like that's what these need to be.
It 100% does. And people who are like, oh, it's going to tank the market on CNC and tank the market on E-Strike. Is that a bad thing?
That is true, though. That it will tank the market on CNC and E-Strike.
But is that a bad thing? Because
no clue.
What are CNCs going for?
What
are CNCs going for per card right now, market man?
It's been a while since we've done ARC. I'll look it up.
I've had my set of 3 that go back and forth between decks, and so I'm completely out of touch. I don't speculate. I don't participate in buyouts. I don't spec on cards for the next set. I really don't do any of that.
In buyouts. They're even doing. They're $88
a piece.
Yeah, like but like I don't know. There's a lot on the market too.
There is. I also didn't. I was trying to stop myself from cursing. So that's.
I think if they print CNC in here, you're gonna see CNC just tank, which is like honestly.
But so if CNC hits $40 a card, is that like the worst? That's not a bad thing.
Wouldn't hit $40 a card if it's in these decks.
What does it hit?
CNC would be it completely depends on what they do. Like if this is a
educate me. The price product of the product is $40. It's readily available. What does CNC hit? $30 a card then? And
it depends on what readily available means. Monarch Blitz deck available. This will be CNC will be a $5 to $10 card.
But okay.
Listen, I mean, like Monarch Blitz decks, like there's a billion of them. Like,
there is a billion of them, which again I thought was a really cool product. Did you ever do one of those events? I know this is a tangent. Did you ever do one of those events where people? It was shout out Nerd Rage Gaming, LGS around us that did a Blitz deck event where they put a bunch of Blitz decks in a jewel bag, a grocery store like plastic bag, and then you paid your entry fee and you reached into the bag and it was Monarch. You got a Blitz deck, then you just played. It was super cool and so much fun. That to me was neat. And having someone that I had known all the Blitz decks pretty well because we did the Blitz deck budget upgrades and stuff. It was really cool. So if you can do that, I've got an addition to my take. If you can do that, they're competitive enough to where you can do that. I like that. And we get a Bravo Nakatsu one. I would like 4.
Yeah, I think that's another thing. I think those need to be there. But like I don't know, there's probably logistics behind that. This will be the tell, and I think this will probably come with the FaB 2.0 announcement. This will be the tell between what do they want with Flesh and Blood to be. If they want to cater to the collectors and the investors, CNC and E-Strike will not be in here. Okay. If FaB 2.0, which is probably my take, is that FaB 2.0 is going to change Flesh and Blood towards a player market, then like lean into what's happening already, the players market, then you will see Command and Conquer and E-Strike in these decks. Those cards will be $10 to $15 to $20, and that'll be the way it is. I'm not saying that's what I want. I'm just saying that's the player market side of this, the player FaB 2.0. So I think this will be interesting.
How many times do you say player?
Player.
Player.
That's got to be a song. Is that a song? It's got to be a song. We're not
going to talk about it. Anyway, so I think this is a really important product, and I think this widens what you always called the front door. I'm not going to talk about your back door on this podcast. Man,
we can talk.
I'll let George do that. I'll let George do that. Someone told me he mentioned me by name. I got a text that said, George just mentioned you by name on May the Zoo Be With You. And I was like, I've made it. This is a thing. So
I've met George in person now. It's not that impressive.
All right. I'll have you meet me in person. I'll give you a really big bear hug. It'll be adorable. It'll be glorious.
I walked right past George in the airport.
I heard the story because I support you and listen to your content, and you push me aside.
I don't watch any content. I watch RuneScape content this week.
Okay,
that's what I watch.
Let's take a break and talk about this, because every week on this podcast, you say, or maybe it's on the podcast or in our personal conversation that seems to go for an hour after the podcast, which is probably a really bad habit.
No, I need to edit the podcast. It's already 12:30, so I need to edit the podcast tonight.
So we talk about, and you say, I don't consume any content. And then you'll message me and say, according to this Rudy video, and I'm like,
Rudy
oh,
doesn't count. Rudy's
I
like,
don't consume any TCG content, but according to this Rudy video,
it'd be like, I don't talk to girls, and including my wife. Like Rudy's just there. It's like I just want, like it's just like second nature
that's
to
the
me.
most offensive thing. Listen, Mrs. Louis, you deserve far more than whatever this treatment is.
Listen,
You're
Rudy's
getting.
just there all the time. He doesn't count as TCG content. That's for sure. Like he's just content. Like 90% of his videos are just funny. All right.
Anyway,
Can we move on from part 1, 30 minutes in? This is the
dude, we
worst
can move on
podcast.
from part 1 and we can talk about the event. So and this is what I was transitioning to actually before I was rudely interrupted by myself taking a tangent about your TCG content viewership. I want to talk about the fact that we've widened the front door, right? This is going to get new players into Flesh and Blood, but we have to get those players to the next step. And we talked recently about the importance of Flesh and Blood events in 2022, how important these events are. And I think with the addition of this product, they just became exceedingly more important. And the reason is you're going to have players going to these events. Let's call them callings. I don't know why that name comes to mind, but let's call them callings, right? And the players go to these events, and we talked about the fact that there's all these side events. The callings are for this high level play, these players that have played for a long time, that they've practiced, they've deck teched for. There's these side events that aren't for those players, right? That anyone can just show up and play at these events, and that's extremely important. But we talked about the fact that LSS and maybe the Flesh and Blood community doesn't necessarily guide people to these events as much. Well, now with this new product, you're going to have a ton of players that have just gotten over the entry level of skill, the entry skill level, and now we need to guide them to maybe these side events, to experience the calling, to be around high level gameplay, but participate in all these side events. So while we've got the front door with this new product, I think the front door for the events, and especially even more so these side events, just became way more important.
Have you played in any side events at these events?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tons.
How were they?
They were an absolute blast. They were so much fun. There was so much just joyful table talk. And again, I'm always looking at this through tinted glasses, right? Because there are sometimes it's like when you go to these events and everyone follows you around and wants to talk to you and take pictures with you because you're ultra famous. Occasionally, someone will recognize me at a table. It's not every game, but sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, you're the Hometown TCG guy." So maybe I get the best of everyone, right? I get the happiest, the most willing to communicate, have a fun game. You want to take something back, that's fine. Maybe I just get that, but that's what those side events always were to me. That's what they always felt like.
So, like, do you come from a background? Did you play in pro qualifying and events for Magic and all that stuff?
Yeah, but it's not my favorite way to experience Magic. Yeah.
Did you go to calling level events for Magic when you played Magic?
Occasionally, yes. I didn't have the money to travel then, but anytime I could, yeah.
So the Vegas calling was my very first event.
Oh, okay.
non Friday Night Magic TCG event. That was my, I went to some whatever. I do not feel like, and that one I think was even more so like a kind of newcomer thing because it was like the pre-release, which like the pre-release was fantastic. Like the pre-release, that was fantastic. That's not what I'm talking about. The side events I did not think were like a great, hey, you've never been to a event. Like nobody was there to tell me what to do. There was one judge for like the 45 50 people that were like they were passing out packs. It was just like kind of slow. Like it didn't seem like a focal point for the event. It didn't seem like it was that important it didn't seem it was like welcoming and that important as a new player. Like it was fun, don't get me wrong. I had fun talking to people, hanging out, whatever. But if I was like a new player, like I wouldn't have been like, oh, this is important to people. It was like kind of like an afterthought. And like so like I think that importance of events in 2022 is like we got to get back to like the local armory being the focal point for Flesh and Blood. Like right now, the calling is the focal point for Flesh and Blood. And that's all you hear. And the pro tour is is like, and that's great. And I think it's important, but like we got to get back to the point where like the armory event, the the Saturday night armor event, the Friday night armor event is the important event of the week in your community. And like, I feel like we've gotten away from that, in my opinion. Like, it feels like now armor events are time to practice for the ProQuest.
It's okay, and I think I've talked about this before. That's a lot on us, on the players, right? Us as the high level flesh and blood veterans, as I've called us in the past. We need to not use the armory in certain groups, and if everyone in your play group and like everyone who's guaranteed to show up this armory is that player, that's fine. But I think we need to not use the armory as a place for that. The armory is the place to play pursuit of knowledge decks, right? And card draw decks and all defense decks and stuff like that, to try stuff out, to have fun, to really experience everything the game has to offer. I don't think the armory is the place to prep your ProQuest level deck. So part of that is on the player. But I also think you're doing the same thing I did, where you're looking at this event through rose-colored goggles, right? In Vegas, you, as someone in the know, in Flesh and Blood, knew that these side events wasn't what the show was about. So it was very apparent for you to be able to look around and say, I can see that this is an afterthought. However, if you are there as a newer player and you've never played in your armory, just based on the model, you would have no idea that wasn't there. You'd see 40 people around you, 30 people around you in an event. There, that a little bit of anxiety and hypertension would kick in, like the excitement would hit. And I think because of the way they've laid everything out, because of the way LSS has decided to do things, we have to work backwards. We both agree that the armory, the Friday Night Magic of Flesh and Blood, the armory has to be the foundation. It has to be the bedrock. That's where you're going to have the most opportunity to have the most play and the most people involved. But I think to get people to that armory, LSS has decided to work backwards. We're going to do this big event draw, right? We're going to have these side events that we should filter in people. And then it's people's job at those side events to be like, oh, if you want to do this weekly, guess where you can go. I think that's how we're going to have to work based on that. Now, if they pivot, I would love if they pivot and said build from the ground up, right? Our weekly armory is there, and then we build people up to these events, but that's not what we're doing, right? We agree that these big events are the most marketed, they're the most showcases, the most
only marketed. I mean,
sure.
Like the reason that Magic the Gathering was successful is that one of the I'm sorry, that's a stupid statement. One of the reasons that Magic the Gathering grew so much in the early 2000s, like the whenever they started they branded Friday Night Magic. It was a brand. Friday Night Magic was a brand that they leaned into, that they branded everywhere, that they marketed the living daylights out of Friday Night Magic.
Sure.
And listen, we can just agree to disagree. It's fine. I, as a non-content creator, would absolutely never have gone to the call-in. Like that never would have been like a thing. Like I went to the calling because I'm a content creator for Flesh and Blood. I would never, even in a million years before I was a content creator. I mean, I can prove this because I played Magic the Gathering for 10 years.
Sure.
I did not even consider going to a PT, I'm not a PTQ. Like the phrase PTQ would have been baffling to me. I wouldn't know what a PTQ is. And then you'd be like, it's a Pro Tour qualifying. I'd be like, well, that's not for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like the calling is like,
sure.
As a new player, somebody who's not versed in competitive play, I never would even consider going to something like that.
Sure. But we talk about the FaB community all the time. So you're not wrong. And I get that. But Magic that was never the draw, right? The PTQ wasn't the events that callings are. The GPs weren't the spectacles and the events that callings are, because and I've said this before, the callings have done a great job of building this community. And maybe it's the community. Maybe it's because the players are so welcoming and have such open arms. It feels like a better opportunity to work backwards. If you were to say, hey, go to a GP and then work backwards to an FNM, I agree with you. But in my mind, those are false equivalencies. You can't compare those two things, as they don't feel like they exist in the same space. Now, LSS might want them to exist in the same space, but right now, as of all the callings I've been to, they don't exist in the same space. So there is an opportunity in my mind to work backwards from there. And we're on the same page here. I would like them just to work the other way, to build from the armory level somehow up. Now, I'm not a smart enough human to tell you how to do that. I have no idea, but I like that, but they're not. So this is where we get to lean into the thing that Flesh and Blood players always say. What does everyone say about Flesh and Blood? Oh, the community, it's so much better. I came to Flesh and Blood and no one's negative to me. The community is so much better. Well, it's time to prove it. At these callings, it's our job as a Flesh and Blood community to be converting people to armory players, to converting people to buying these intro decks, converting people to be drafters and stuff like that. That's our job as a community. So it's our job to prop up these side events where we could see some players like that and draw them in. We're the Venus flytrap right now.
That's great. And like, we can agree. I just don't see somebody spending, I don't know, a weekend of time away from their wife or family and X amount of dollars to not already have a deck for Flesh and Blood and hopping
you don't
in.
have to, right? It could, the calling Indianapolis can be the Indiana scene. You've said before how many callings there are.
That's fair.
Right?
That's
There's so many. So instead of traveling for players of this level, we could just each calling could just build up that local scene. And then once you've built up these local scenes, ideally that spreads, right? That's the whole goal. Is it spreads like a Flesh and Blood virus.
If that's going to be the case, then the judges need to be pushing the local scene. I guess that's my point.
Judges, I think that falls on us.
Okay.
We have a disagreement about responsibility that falls on us.
I
need to be pushing
that
the
idea,
local scene.
but I think the judges should be doing it too. That's just a point. But sure. I do think the events are incredibly important. I think even the ProQuests, right now you're seeing it with the not Road to Nationals. What are they called now? ProQuest. Did I just
ProQuest,
say?
Yeah.
I meant
ProQuest.
to say callings.
You said ProQuest, then you said Road to Nationals.
Yeah. Right now you're seeing it with the ProQuest. Like, these are really important events. I think they're really they stand a lot of truth. Like, I think it's really cool. Like, I had people from 7 states at mine this weekend.
That's pretty sweet, dude.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yours is also kind of like if I was going to travel to a ProQuest, I'd travel to yours. I'd travel to the Compete Sport ProQuest just because.
Yeah,
those seem like they're like holy grail events, like pillars of the community events. I would travel to those ones. So I think, again, just like the Vegas thing, like I said, I think you might be experiencing a different level of event, or an event from a different perspective than most of the rest of the country. Yeah, but maybe. I think you said 7 states. It's kind of
7. I mean, like, Sean came from Florida, so like
that counts.
It counts, but like, yeah, it doesn't. Florida, yeah, it's a state.
Wow, the Florida hate has gone.
I've actually, this is like the third time we said this.
It's grown deep, hasn't it?
I love Florida. I might move to Florida. I'm like talking to my wife about potentially moving to Tampa. So like,
and not Chicago. That's great. No, that's fine. I'll just be up here by myself.
She would never do that.
Someone made now that we're talking about states, someone made a comment this week at the Hometown Throwdown, where it had a bunch of locals who were protest questing. They were ProQuest testing, and they had them in the Hometown TCG studios, or as I think that night I was calling it, the Hometown TCG game store, which is just, it's all my basement. When I say the Hometown TCG anything, it's always my basement.
Yeah.
And I had a bunch of people like playing games, and then we'd have a feature match, like whoever wanted to play on camera could pop in and play on camera. And someone made a point that the Illinois people and Chicago people are known for being like these big brainiac players, and I guess this stems from Magic the Gathering, Chicago and Madison. So I leaned into that for like the last couple days. I'm like, well, that's just because we're the biggest Flesh and Blood brains in the entire world. So I know I'm gonna piss off the whole comment section, but Chicago and Illinois, biggest Flesh and Blood brains in the entire world. So I'm with you. Forget Florida.
I'm Team Florida. I'm Team Florida now. All right, part 3. Casting and streaming these events is really important. Go ahead, Josh.
So this leans into the idea that of the front door versus back door policy that you've talked about. And I feel horrible every time just saying that out loud.
Why? That's like a common business conversation.
My mind goes to the complete wrong place.
Like, get your mind out of the gutter, and like, this is an important conversation.
Get my mind out of the gutter. I'm going to leak some DMs, man. It's over. I told you
What'd I
I'm on a
do?
warpath. It's I'll leak them. It's over. Follow me on
I
Twitter.
legitimately have no clue what you're talking about.
That's good. I like to keep it that way. But
And I can't tell if you're
casting and the
joking because you're freaking sunglasses.
casting these events and the coverage of these events is so important. It's the biggest opportunity again, and this is all based around that model that we've leaned into. These events are the backbone of this season, of this year of Flesh and Blood, right? They've leaned into these events, so we have to. It's our biggest opportunity to reach the most people. So the coverage of these events has to be both high level coverage and new player friendly.
I think you fit the bill perfectly for that.
This is not what I'm talking about. This is not what I'm talking about. This is not what I'm talking about. I think the current,
as a friend of Josh.
Team,
wait, does my recommendation do negative? No, fine. Sorry. I think that you should not be covered. I think you're a terrible fit.
Probably. It's like if you're endorsed by certain groups, you're like, I'm not liking that endorsement. I think the current coverage team that they have can do this as well. And I've seen sparks of this, but it has to be an emphasis because it is Flesh and Blood's biggest opportunity to reach the most people, get the most eyeballs on the game. And if you get all those eyeballs on the game and that new player product releases, that could be a recipe for explosion. I love that. But I think this is a huge opportunity. I think this is, you talk about can't misses. I think this is the can't miss of 2022. It's coverage of these events.
These events have got to have card images on the video stream.
100%. Yeah,
if these events do not have card images on the screen, then they simply don't agree with us and they don't think that it's important. There's no other way to say it. If they do not take the time and effort to put card images on the screen, something that, mind you, I do on my live stream.
We have done. Yes.
The no-name content creators that don't matter.
Shout out Dennis for running those card images several times.
We do it.
Goat.
If they can't put the time in to figure it out, then they don't agree that it's a good thing to reach, is a good way to reach new players. And that's a huge miss in my opinion.
Yes.
And it has been, on top of that, it has been a massive miss in the last year. These are high level events that people from all demographics of play, people who are really good at the game and people who are looking at Flesh and Blood for the first time are looking at, and they don't know what the hell a CNC does. They don't even know what CNC is, and they can't tell what it is from the little picture that's on the screen that you can't even see. It's not that hard to put it up there. We do it.
So
I
100% agree. I can agree with that. I can get behind that. I don't know if it's they don't agree or maybe they don't see the importance. I'm not going to excuse ignorance as a reason for not doing it. Like, oh, we just didn't think it was important. But I agree with you. You know, they might not see it the same way that we see it, but I agree with you. But also, it's a big opportunity because these events aren't streamed at Kitchen, Home, TCG. No, these events are streamed on Channel Fireball. And who is watching the Channel Fireball Twitch stream on a Saturday afternoon? It is TCG enthusiasts. Someone else, someone who's into a TCG already.
Magic the Gathering players.
Sure.
That's all matters.
No, you're right. If we're saying it like it is,
nothing else matters.
You're right. You're right. It's you already have a bunch of predisposed eyeballs ready and waiting for you to click the go live button. So you have an opportunity here to hook people into the game. Now, the scary part is the coverage teams for Channel Fireball and the coverage teams for Star City Game or whatever it is, I believe are independently sourced. Now, I looked into this because I made a promise to people. I covered a random ProQuest and shout out, I don't have the glass down here. Shout out to Joey with Decks and Drafts. I covered a ProQuest with them out in Colorado, and it was just an awesome experience. And I had to, because we had so many concurrent viewers, I made a promise to the chat that I would reach out. Yeah. You.
I'm a bigger Joey fan.
Just way more ready than I am. But I made a promise that I'd reach out. So I started to figure out based on emails back and forth, how these teams are sourced and stuff like that. I would like to see LSS have a hand in that, because if LSS has a hand in sourcing the team, they can they can present a unique message to the various coverage teams. Now, if LSS says, hey, Channel Fireball, Star City Games, and Kitchen Table TCG, you have 3 different events, you have 3 different coverage teams, you're welcome to choose your own, but we get to vet them. We give you a pool that you can pull from or something like that, right? And that way, all those people have the message of what's important, what the goal of the coverage of Flesh and Blood is, and we can go out there and attack it on a unified front as the people that are covering these events. What I think it is because Channel Fireball doesn't have any investment in how many people play Flesh and Blood. They have no investment in that. So they can go through the motions.
They've got to find lots of people to give free Monarch unlimited boxes to. Come on.
No, fair enough.
And
they
to
don't
sell
have the
Everfest. They've got to find people to sell Everfest under map too, buddy. I mean, like,
I should have said something other than Channel Fireball. This was not meant to set you off, but I should have known that it was going to set you off. And you're not, again, I don't disagree. You're not wrong, but not the point of the discussion here. I'm here to keep us on track.
I have no
you're
clue.
Here to derail the train.
Listen, again, you and I this is a great deal. Why I think this is a great podcast is you and I come from completely different backgrounds.
Very similar backgrounds. We approach TCGs in completely different ways.
Well, and I love the commentators that have been on. I consider them fellow content creator friends, and I would never say anything bad about any of them. Not that you are. I know that you're not doing that.
Not doing the same thing either.
I'm preluding to what I'm about to say. I'm not saying anything about what you just said. I'm preluding to what I'm about to say. I don't listen to them at all.
I think they do a great job with nothing. They don't have a unified message. Nobody gets them together and is like, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish with our coverage. They have to go off the cuff. And these guys are making awesome content and awesome coverage, and they're doing a really good job with no support. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to reaction phase you and pause you. I don't listen to them at all because when I am watching content, I'm sitting on my couch and there's a 2-year-old screaming, yelling here, and the baby's yelling. And my wife's asking me to make dinner, and this is going on and that's going on. And I'm trying to watch the TV, and I can't see what card is being played at all because it's on a 2-inch thing. And I don't I'm sure some people sit on their computer and they put headphones in and they're sitting like this and they're like, oh my gosh, they just played a Command and Conquer, and yeah, what DM Armada said is really, really good. And but the average viewer is not doing that. They're just kind of watching, and it's like a 13-hour stream. They're not sitting there I don't know. I agree with what you're saying. It needs to have a unified front. LSS needs to have some vision behind it. And Channel Fireball is Channel Fireball.
Don't you think they've put the casters in a weird spot then? And not like a very uncomfortable spot, because they're telling the casters, hey, get people engaged with this. However, you can only get people engaged through audio as a caster at those events. And if they're not going to support you with video, card images and high quality video, or zooming in on card, however they decide to show the card, zooming in on cards would be really weird. I get very dizzy to pull a Louis. It's just the whole way. I would get very dizzy, but they've almost given these guys the impossible task. And here you and I are talking about the importance of this in 2022. And we're taking the weight of the Flesh and Blood growth and community and saying, carry us forward, commentators and casters, and saying, hey, you are a door for new players. We're putting this on your shoulders. Also, we're not going to support you that much. So good luck. Go get them.
Yeah. And I don't know, you got to be fair too. Last season was Briar versus Briar, and then Briar versus Briar. And
I don't care as a if you are there presenting the game, it doesn't matter. Right. Every match is the newest and most exciting, and anything could happen at any moment.
I hope those guys do not read the comment section though. The comment section just got completely derailed because of the Briar hate, and it's just what are you supposed to really talk about too? I don't know. This is beyond me. I think to me, the importance is the entry level person. I don't know, I think the competitive, the hardcore competitive scene people probably aren't listening to the commentators, to be honest.
So I think they are. And I think there's a world. And again, I think the guys that are already doing this do an amazing job. I think they need to be supported better behind the scenes by the various organizations that are presenting the content. I think they could have a better support system. And then I think they need a unified message. I think LSS needs to be reaching out to these guys. And maybe they are. Maybe I'm wrong.
What should the unified message be?
The unified message is we have to cultivate an environment for new players who know what Command and Conquer does and players who don't know what Command and Conquer does. We have to create a unified environment for those two groups of people. You need to find a way to broach the gap from here to here. And that's what we're going to try to do. And any strategies that they can come up with to help those commentators and anyone who gets involved in Flesh and Blood content, how can we help shrink that gap? Or how can we help you present that in a way where you can cover both groups of people? I think that needs to happen. That needs to be a priority. And this is all based around that model, right? Where these events are the focal point. And because these events are the focal point, that's where all the energy and effort needs to go.
Yep.
So yeah, I think we're in agreement there. And again, one last time, the commentators and content creators and people that have done the events in the past, I know several of them, just from doing the events, they do an amazing job. I've seen the little amount of support that they get and the little amount of information they get ahead of time. They do an awesome job. It is so cool just to watch them work. I wish that they had that someone behind them saying, this is our goal this week, fellas or ladies and gentlemen. This is what we're doing this week. This is our key focus point. Like, treat it like a business meeting, right? This is our business goal this week. Let's accomplish it together, go team. Instead of just, hey, you guys are awesome. Get out there and good luck.
Right. That's fair. I agree.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting.
And put
the
card images on the screen.
God, I never realized how important that was till I was watching Flesh and Blood content, or it was a call-in coverage that I couldn't attend or something like that. It was really important, and I know the cards, and it was.
Do they do that on Magic? I bet you they don't do that for Magic.
I don't think so. No, they don't. At least any coverage that I've watched, they don't. And maybe it's too much of an ask, right? Because I don't know. Think of the steps that have to happen for that to happen.
As somebody who's worked in live video production before, there's no such thing as too much of an ask. Like you're producing. I don't know. I don't want to get into it.
I think
even
Fireball. Even if they get it
feel
wrong,
free to reach out if you'd like some help on figuring out how to do that, because it's really not that difficult.
Wow, the shots across the bow.
I don't know, like it's not that like they get paid to do this. Like this is not like a low. Like I'm sorry, but like this isn't like a new budget TCG. This isn't like
yes, we've migrated out of new TCG territory. We have a solid fan base, and we're looking to grow. Yeah. So we need to start stepping it up, and that's all of us, right? That's like our content, the things we talk about. Everyone, we need to step it up. We need to present the game in a welcoming and great way. So it's not just these events doing coverage, but more should be expected of these companies doing large events than should be expected of Home, Kitchen, TCG, Table, Armadas, Rogue, Zone, anyone I may have missed, right? More should be expected of Channel Fireball than any of that community, 100%.
Yep. I'm just saying, like, all the content creators do it. And like, we've seen content creators do it on live streams. Like, yes, we can do it. So can Channel Fireball.
Yeah, it requires additional manpower, but it 100% can be done.
Anyway, moving on. We're beating a dead horse now. All right,
a dead horse. Hit me with the market information that I never do any research for before this video started.
Good transition. Speaking of beating dead horses, let's talk about the Flesh and Blood market.
I put my thoughts together on other things that we're going to talk about beforehand. I really do, until we get to the market, and I look at nothing.
There's not much to look at. I mean, the market hasn't really shifted much. Honestly, the market seems to be in a pretty decent spot. Like it seems like we've hit like a floor is like a really strong word, but like a plateau, like a down plateau where it's just like nobody is willing to
We've hit a floor down plateau. That's what I've learned from you so far. Yeah.
Like no one's selling cards for anything. Like no one's buying and no one's selling. It's just like a completely dry market. Like no one's buying and no one's selling. No one's listing no one's buying the eye for 7K and no one's listing an eye for 6K. Like no one is buying a cold foil tunic for 5K and nobody is selling one for 3,500. Like there's no middle ground on the high end market right now. The low end market's pumping though. I mean, like singles are flying, crew is way up. Like I don't know, like I mean, we're in the middle of ProQuest season. Like everything's flying off the playable singles section.
So, and that's to be expected, right? I think we talk about this every week when we talk about the market. It's a player's market right now, so playable singles are going. We focus on two different areas of the market where you're talking about the high-end baller, bling bling, investable stuff, and I always focus on playable singles, just because again, that's the way we approach the game from two different directions, and that's a healthy, good thing. It's cool that you can do that, but even I've noticed like a slowing for the first couple weeks after Everfest. We had discussed that I'm not going to open a ton of Everfest. I'm going to buy my singles. It's a wide set. I'd have to open a ton of Everfest to get everything I want. I'm going to buy my singles. Even from a local scene, everyone was contacting each other. Do you have one of this, two of this, three of this, right? That has slowed down. It's come to a grind. It's coming to a halt. There's going to have to be a shift in what's being played to spark that portion of the market again.
It'd be super interesting to see what happens after ProQuest season. Like after ProQuest season, after people aren't going to the Pro Tour, do they sell their deck? Like that'll be an interesting Flesh and Blood dynamic that I don't know what happens. We kind of saw that a little bit after the callings last year.
Did we? Was that a thing?
Yeah, we saw a little bit of that.
Wow, I have blinders on when it comes to stuff. I would never think I guess sell my deck.
I get, well, yeah, like you and I won't, because you're like, oh, I want the cards for like content creation too.
Sure.
Like I think like the other side is like Unlimited came out, and like I have no clue what's going on with Everfest, and it's like very apparent that literally nobody has any clue. Like distribution, no answers. Rudy's like, I don't know what's going on. Distribution still has first edition. Channel Fireball is selling below map.
This is the Channel Fireball hate podcast that I've been dragged into. Hey, Channel Fireball.
I love the Channel Fireball is selling below map. It makes it really easy for the players to get cards. It's great.
Yes.
That's what the comment section wants me to say. Like I don't know, like you can get boxes for $78 right now. Like maybe they just didn't read the announcement that map is $80 now. It's fine. And I don't know, like
this poor dead horse.
I was told when I was setting up my pre-order, somebody told me, no, Louis, don't sell for under $100 a box. There's no way Everfest will come out and will be under $100 a box. There's absolutely no way. I said, I don't know about that. Like,
you were pre-ordering it under $100 a box. Who gave you this advice?
They were basically like, don't jump on board with that, because it's like when it comes out, it's going to be more expensive.
That's horrible advice. I disagree.
Well, like I think people are we are still stuck in this idea that we should all be spending money on first edition and that everything's going to the moon. We're still, for whatever reason, in that. Like, welcome to TCGs. Boxes come out, pre-order price is a little bit higher, you lose money for 2 years, and then product ages 5 to 10% for the next 10, 15, 20 years unless the game dies. Like,
sure.
Welcome to TCGs. This is where we are.
Do we still tell people that? Like, people have to know that by now.
No, because
that's how this world works. That's how this world goes round.
Go read the comment section on Rudy's Everfest video today.
I'm
talking about $5 cold foils. $5 cold foils, being like, oh my gosh, that is going to be an amazing investment in 5 years. It's going to be, those are going to be like, there's in no world where a cold foil common from Everfest is going to be worth $400 in 5 years. That is not the,
that's the thought.
I'm just saying,
if in 5 years that cold foil common hits $10, boom, you've doubled your money in 5 years. Not bad, kid. Good job.
Like, I think people are just that we have this idea of what cold foils are. I think cold foils have changed a little bit. Like, cold foils from WTR Art Crew are amazing. They're really short printed. There's 833 cold foil legendaries from WTR. That's an amazingly small amount of things printed.
Especially because again, we're a mainstream. We're growing. We're a growing community. We're not a new game anymore. We got a lot of people.
Not a new game. This is not a new game anymore, and they are printing it for not a new game.
Right.
And that's where we are. And so I think honestly, LSS's goal is to make their decks less expensive, which I think is a fantastic goal. I think the market is seeing that. I think you will continue to see that. I don't know what's going on with Unlimited at all, and I wish it would say something about that. I
think I'm gonna have to eat a lot of crow on that.
On what?
I'm afraid. My position is shifting.
On what?
You were like, we might not get Everfest Unlimited. We did an episode of this podcast, and you're like, we might not. And I said, Louis, you idiot, you stupid man. In the post announcing Everfest, they said first edition and unlimited. You stupid man.
Yeah,
we're getting unlimited, and
they
now
made it out of paper packs. They can light it on fire, and it never existed.
Yeah, but I'm starting to be worried that I might have to. Someone's gonna go back and watch that episode and be like, "Who's this idiot saying Everfest Unlimited? They just did an announcement saying we're not getting." Well, you know when you get a comment and nobody looks at the date of the video, and you're like, what do you mean, man? This was like 8 months ago. Yeah. I didn't have the wherewithal to see. I
still get that on my video that's about me investing in Unlimited. People being like, "How'd that work out for you, Louis?"
Oh, you sweet summer child.
I honestly think Unlimited was printed. I don't understand how it couldn't have been printed.
That makes sense, right? Because of printer allocation and the amount of time needed to get a product together and throw out there. Yeah, you're right. Especially because theoretically there'd be more of it than first edition, right? Theoretically. So if you were going to allocate printers, if you're the head of LSS and you have to operate so many months in the future, you're printing more of every Unlimited product than first edition product. There's not enough time to pivot there, right?
We can get into this. I mean, we can get this as long as you want, but I was doing some research on
Wheelhouse,
I'm so obsessed with Pokemon right now.
I've gathered.
And I was doing some research on Pokemon print runs and the first edition base set to all the kind of things. And I was baffled that the print runs for the first edition and maybe not first edition, but the print runs for the first boxes were actually more than the print runs moving forward. They printed X amount, and the game as it moved forward in time for a while, they printed less than X. Okay. And why that is, because you have this hype cycle where everyone comes in and they're all excited and they come in the front door, and when you get into the living room, it's not always 4 people. You go over to your friend's house and you get to the house and you're all excited, and their foyer is really nice, and you get to their living room and their dogs,
and then they're doing heroin in the living room, and you're like, this is not my scene.
And you go out the back door. People leave TCGs, and Pokemon knew that. And I think Pokemon, I know a lot of original Pokemon stuff sat on shelves and whatever. It was really interesting to and there's not nobody knows the exact print runs of that stuff, but the general consensus is that they printed less of Fossil and the second and third sets than they did the base set. And I think I hope LSS gets that. And I think that's one of the things we're seeing is there's more printed. The game is not rapidly growing at the rate that it was rapidly growing in the beginning, which is okay. That doesn't mean the sky is falling. It means that it's a trading card game and not free Tendies lottery winning tickets every time. Doesn't
this bode well? This bodes well for Flesh and Blood and the market as a whole. If Flesh and Blood is entering the, hey, we're a real TCG, I think we're in a good spot, right? To 100%. Make money. That means the cards are always going to be available for the players, and the people who want to invest, this isn't their first rodeo, right? They know that it's going to be a long-term thing. It's a long-term hold. And sets like Everfest, the community is hype about you mentioned Everfest, everyone freaking loves it. So that means in 5 years time, Everfest is going to have great growth. It's not readily available on the shelves. You can stick it on your shelf back behind you, shoot a bunch of videos with it, and one day it'll be worth a couple bucks more than you paid for it, which is cool. It's a cool experience. So, but I think, I don't know, is that, and let me ask you as the market expert, does that mean the market is healthy or unhealthy? Because in my mind, where I go right away is I say, oh, this is a healthy market. I look at Magic the Gathering, and you can't open Crimson Vow or any of those set, like you can't open a box and get your money back of a draft booster. You can't. It's freaking rare. But if we're trending then something must be going right? Because that's how the popular games are doing it.
I think the market's in a. I don't want to use
say bad. So someone in the comment section call you negative. Just say bad. Say bad.
No, like it's just indifferent. I don't know that the flesh and blood market was ever in a healthy space. I think it's probably healthier now than it was.
It's new. It started
a year ago. I think like this is like a type of thing where it's like, okay, why carry the game now if you're an LGS that hasn't been carrying? Now it's not free attendees. So now you're starting to see the LGSs that are actually into it for the game, which is great because that's what you need for actual growth.
Sure.
The question is, how much not actual growth did we see, and how much did LSS react to that not actual growth? How many stores who order product are actually running events, and like that kind of stuff? Like,
right. So now we've got a store backdoor, if you will,
an opportunity
and for stores to kind of get off the horse.
My gut is like their store number. I mean, you would never see it because no one's gonna like call their distribution and be like, "Hey, take me off the list for Flesh and Blood." Like no one's like, "Hey, I don't want to be a store that carries," like, you know, like, once you're like, "Hey, I'm carrying Flesh and Blood," you're like on that list, right? Like no one's gonna call and be like, "Hey, take me off that list," but you might stop ordering product. You might not order more Everfest. I know my distributor was like, "Hey, do you like what happened with Tales of Aria? No one's ordering any unlimited. Like I've sold like boxes, not like multiple, like not like," he's like, "I've like haven't sold hardly any." And I was like, "Yeah, because you can get the first edition for the same price." So like obviously stores are not ordering as much as they order. It's like, I think like that's the type of stuff that we're gonna see in the short term right now, is like stores being, "No, I'm not carrying the product anymore," because they never were actually carrying the product. The product of Flesh and Blood is the game. The product of Flesh and Blood is the game. It's a fantastic game. And like a lot of people were carrying the product, which was they were selling boxes, you know, maybe online, maybe to their customers who weren't actually playing, but who were investing and, you know, whatever. And like now we're going to start seeing like the game actually grow. So I think it's a really healthy place. But like that doesn't mean that everything's a deal right now. That doesn't mean that like,
no, that like, just means
like
that means the things are what they cost.
Alpha boxes at 4K, I have no clue. An alpha box could drop down to 2,500. That doesn't mean that it's unhealthy. It just means that the market is bouncing out. If you believe in Flesh and Blood, it doesn't matter, because in 20 years, an alpha box is going to be worth a hell of a lot more than $4,000.
Like, sure, it's like watching the stock markets, watching the price of Starbucks on the day to day.
Yeah,
when Starbucks goes from $99 to $96 to $90 up to $101, none of that matters. If you have this investment, it's something you believe in, it's a company you believe in, it's a game you believe in, whatever it is, the day to day, the week to week, even the month to month don't make a darn bit of difference. And people who are living and dying on every breath there, I just don't agree with that approach, right? As an investor in a TCG. And you've seen the video backgrounds. I've got Modern Horizon 2 and Times Forward Ambassador and Zendikar Rising, everything from that to Strixhaven to Theros. I have all this Magic product that sits behind me. And it's weird because you look at it, and Magic product, I openly accept that's it's not, I'm not going to wake up and on eBay it's going to have tripled in price.
Right.
But there's this weird thought with Flesh and Blood product, and even some of the other, you know, call them B-level TCGs, like the MetaZoo product that
every Kickstarter game that's out right now.
Right. There's this weird hope that you're going to wake up and the product overnight has mooned or something like that. And Flesh and Blood it doesn't exist in that space anymore. It doesn't exist in that. It's an established game with an established player base at this point, which comes with its own benefits. That also means I'm not going to wake up in the morning and the game is going to be dead. So there's
its own benefits. It comes with with its own risks too.
Yes.
And like 100%, but it's a it's a TCG. It's no longer a new TCG. It's just a thing now.
Right. And so yeah, you can't. But if that's the case, then for this market section, here's what I want us to do. Then going forward, I want us to approach the market section as if these were draft boxes of Magic the Gathering. Then, right? Let's pioneer that. Let's be on the forefront of the fact that this isn't going to moon any. Oh. That doesn't make good content.
That's boring as hell. Like, that's the point. Like, that's boring.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. Investing is boring. Whoa. Am I the first person to look you in your... Hold on.
You want to get spicy with it?
Investing is boring, Louis.
I understand.
I don't understand. It's not this exciting.
That's what people want the blah. So like here, you want to get exciting with it? If that's the case... Here's a question.
No, this is the case, dude.
How far did we overshoot? Like, how far did we overshoot what that healthy price is? And that's the question I feel like all the buyers and sellers are trying to figure out
for anything.
For alpha.
Just how far? Okay.
Let's use alpha boxes. They shot up.
Exist in that world. That's so hard.
They were 9K at one point.
Oh yeah, I mean,
how far did we overshoot?
I said this then. It's too soon. I can't give you a number. I don't know how far.
But like, if you say that, like, there's people who would literally hate you.
That's fine. Then hate me. That's my opinion. I'm comfortable if you hate me because I have an opinion that doesn't hurt anyone or neglect any groups of people or anything like that, and you want to hate me over that opinion. If I'm like, oh, marinara sauce sucks. I hate marinara sauce. Oh, I hate you. Okay, I guess then we're just not meant to click. But it's been too expensive, and it is too expensive. It's still too new. It's still too fresh. But okay, then we won't cover the market that way. I'm down to keep talking about next week. Let's talk about how far. I'll come up with an answer for you. Next week, our spicy market take right here. I'll tell you how much an alpha box of Flesh and Blood should be worth. I'll give you the verbal market tracker. Like, hey, this is what your box is worth, people. Don't worry about it.
So like, I think like for me, for Magic investing, it's always been, I don't really care about the value. I like the sets, and like in 20 years,
I like looking at it.
In 20 years, I want to sit down and draft that with my friends. Like War of Spark. Like
you have friends. I get it.
Like I want to. But like the reality of that, right, is like it will never happen. Like it will never. And like I think every Magic player, every Magic collector's done this too, where it's like, yeah, I'll draft that with my friends. And now like a Modern Horizon 2 box is $320. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not drafting that. I'm not opening it. Like, which friend's gonna be like, yeah, I'll chip in? I'm like, no, I could sell that and I can buy more boxes that will just sit on my shelf. You know what I mean? Like
I'm of the group that I like them. It's if at one day I can get my money out of them, I like looking at that more than I like looking at a number in my bank account. So it makes me happy to look at them. But this is 99% of you that are investing are just buying product. That's all you're doing. You're not investing. You're buying product. You don't have a plan. There's not like a budget allocation and a goal and a spreadsheet and a sell point and buy point and circuit breakers. There's none of that for 99% of the people watching this. They're just buying product. Now, the sooner we all come to terms with that, the better.
I'm getting to the end of my 5-year plan with my Magic investing, which is like I can't sell anything for 5 years. That's like my rule for sealed box investing. So I think I have like cool. I have a year and a half left, and starting to see those 5-year gains. It's crazy. Modern Horizons did nothing, and like this is what Tales of Aria will do. Nothing. It will do nothing until all of a sudden it starts to do something, and that will be 3 to 5 years from now. Everfest, same thing. It'll do nothing until all of a sudden it starts to do something, and that will be 3 to 5 years from now. So
true.
That's my opinion on the market.
Yeah, and you're right. That is boring to talk about. This
is coming from somebody
segment in 5 years
who owns lots of sealed first edition Tales of Aria and owns lots of sealed first edition Everfest, which you can buy on my website too. At Map. Not below Map. You can go buy from Channel Fireball below Map if you want.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been great. Let's close this with the I hate Channel Fireball section. Louis,
I do not hate. I have nothing wrong with Channel Fireball. I'm giving them advertisement. You can go buy. Go buy.
We have said the phrase Channel Fireball.
Look, I have nothing against Channel Fireball. I love. That's not true. I have no opinions about Channel Fireball. If you want the best deals on Flesh and Blood, go to Channel Fireball's website. Sorry, Card Shop Live. It's different because it's not them.
We're going to close with the closing crazy comment section. I think we're both getting tired. We got to stop doing this at midnight before the podcast.
Tired face.
The sleepy phase. And now that we're both getting too old for this, guys. Spoiler alert, your content creators aren't spring chickens anymore. We got creaky knees, bad hips.
Last year I was so much younger. God,
you look so much younger. Have you ever seen
you respond to every comment. That's why it's 93. On my channel it looks worse because I don't respond to all the comments.
Was that not is it not episode 7 was the last episode?
I went 6, sorry. 7. It was on my channel, you're right.
I know. And then we skipped a week on my channel and I was like, you know what? I support that, Louis.
Mine has 69 comments.
Nice.
Oh, haha. I'm sorry, I'm not 12. All right.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? You don't think you're in a crabby mood.
I completely set you up for that. It was brilliant.
You're in a crabby mood. I don't like when you're crabby, man. I have my comment. If you're just reading these for the first time now because you don't respond to comments, I have my comment and I'm ready to go. Devin Mychan, shout out long time homie. Let's point this out. Devin has been a long time homie. Devin has been around Hometown TCG since we were shooting videos against like a crimson red background in my basement.
Is that what you call your viewers, homies? For Hometown?
Yeah, because it's the Hometown homies, dude.
That's cool.
That's pretty neat, right?
Yeah, I call mine kitchenies.
No, you don't. I think this is the first time you've ever used that word. Don't take my swag, man. Don't take my swag. Anyway, Devin, the longtime hometown homie. Devin says, I was here, and not just because I was cutting strawberries while making an omelet and couldn't stop it. So Devin watches our content because the remote is on the other side of the room.
Thanks, Devin. You can't switch it to one of the better podcasts.
And I have a question. You're not cutting strawberries to put in the omelet, are you? Because that
sounds
gross.
Delicious.
What?
I don't know. Eggs are good and strawberries are good. Why would they not be delicious together? I'm gonna try it
for
tomorrow.
So many reasons.
All right,
Devin,
here we go.
Don't do that.
Yeah, I got 2. Jonathan Abbott. Something about Starvo that I haven't heard discussions among content creators, but I did hear from a lot of people at the PQs I went to. That a lot of people playing him say something along the lines of, I hate playing this Decker hero, but it's the best one, so I'm playing it. I don't think he's overpowered, but I worry about a meta where so many people feel like they have to play something that they hate in order to win. This has been my experience from talking to people who play Starvo. They don't want to play Starvo. They don't like playing Starvo. They're not having fun playing Starvo, but they want to win the PQ, so they play Starvo. I'm glad we didn't talk about Starvo this episode.
That was intentional. Doesn't matter. No ProQuest talk at all.
It doesn't matter that we talked about Starvo this episode, because then by the time people watch this podcast in like 3 weeks, he'll be banned. He'll be living legend status. So it'd be great.
You're in a mood today, and I kind of like it. I'm kind of into it, dude.
I mean, like he's on the record, right? He has 316 points in 2 weeks. After this week, he's probably gonna have 450. Next week he'll have 600, and then calling. We
differ.
You think you're gonna figure it out?
The competitive group of guys that I'm lucky enough to work with, Team Hometown TCG Ascent, huge shout out. They do talk to me and don't leave me out of all of their plans and shut the door on me. So I'm not nearly as concerned with the Starvo thing, I think, as you are. So we just have differing opinions on this. It will be hilarious if he hits Living Legend status before another set drops. That
would be. You want to talk
I
about
would
the
lean
market?
into the fact that that's hilarious.
You want to talk about the market? If Starvo gets Living Legend status and the cold foil chase from the latest set gets eradicated before
gets what is it, soft banned? Is it pseudo banned or something?
I mean, what like that would be horrible. Like,
oh my god, can you imagine the run on selling Starvos as he squeaks up to that point as he gets there? Everyone's just like,
so you think something's gonna be come in and stop him?
I think Starvos got a lot of bad matchups.
That's awesome. I really hope that's the case.
I do.
I thought the Pat Urshby, who won my ProQuest, I mean, his reaction at the end of it was great. He was like, what are your thoughts on the meta and whatever? And he's like, look, Starvo's definitely the best deck in the meta. He's won 2 ProQuests with Starvo. He's like, Prism kind of counters it, but if you play it right, you can beat it. I don't know. I think it's interesting to hear people say that they're playing it even though they don't want to play it.
That's all.
I hope it gets figured out.
That will always be the case. Hyper competitive people will always play the best deck in any TCG. You will always have the opportunity to interview someone that says, "I'm just playing this because it's the best deck." Why? Because that's what competition is.
Well, Jonathan Abbott, that's what Josh thinks of you.
I think you're great. You're a baller.
Yeah.
You're a homie.
We can just end with that one.
You said you had 2. Don't tease the people.
I picked 2 ones that weren't super positive. The other one was from Louis DeGeorge, who said, I love Flesh and Blood with every ounce of my being. And yeah, Louis, you do. You do love this game. I love it.
So that's good. That's been the episode of the reaction phase. This has been super late at night. Why
are you apologizing for our podcast?
I'm not apologizing. I said
you're like setting it up like we regret saying things.
Not at all. I said that's been the you're in a mood. You are in a mood. I said that's been the episode. I was trying to close people out, and I was going to end with a nugget. I had a spicy little nugget.
Oh, okay, bring your nuggets out.
And it was, I went golfing this weekend, and I opened my trunk, and I moved around my golf bag, and I found in there the shirt that you were wearing on the episode 7 of the podcast, where I said, "Oh my god, with the beer opener."
That's awesome.
I said we have the same shirt, and I was gonna wear it, and then I pulled it out of my trunk, and I realized the last time I wore it was to the gym, and I did not want to wear it. It was
like, I'm never wearing this shirt again.
It was gross. It needs to be washed like twice before I put it back on. But it made me think of you, and so the next time when you go an entire week without talking to me again, because you like to portray that we're friends, but we're not actually.
We both didn't talk to each other all week.
That is 100% true. I just like throwing you under the bus.
Starting to sound like my mom. Why didn't you call me?
Well, if you washed your damn drawers, Louis.
I just called you. What do you mean? You didn't call me all week either.
I did. Well, you were on vacation, dude. How was your vacation? Was it sweet?
I worked. This is my job.
Okay.
My whole life's vacation.
Whatever. How was whatever you want to call it? Was it sick? It seemed cool.
It was cool. Yeah, CollectorCon was great. People were cool. It's fun hanging out. It's amazing, like just being in a room with like people who
like
are
other
fans.
People that like
just like 4,000 or 5,000 fans of something. Like
that's pretty sweet.
It's just cool. Like it's just fun. Like everyone around you is just excited for the same thing that you are excited for, and like there's not this like I don't know online stigma and negativity. It's just like everyone around you is fun and excited, and it's like fine, you can just be like excited about something and not have to worry about what everyone is like.
It is you don't have to like cover your tracks for things.
No.
You can like person to person communication is always so much cooler, and when you get together with other TCG enthusiasts, that's just a blast, dude.
Yeah, it's just so like everyone was just like a big giant nerd that like loved like the same thing as you know what I mean? Like you're like, no, like
right.
This is
when
really
you're like,
cool.
I invest in cardboard boxes. Nobody else looked at you like,
yeah. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's a giant Pikachu, and nobody even stopped to be like, hey, should we go take our picture in front of it? Like everybody just went and took their picture in front of a giant Pikachu, and you're like, no, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. And like,
right. You know,
it-
yes.
it's just cool
Dude,
to like not have to like be worried about. Like, not that I'm ever, but like, you know, you're always kind of like talk to your friends.
not.
When I talk to my friends about what I do, they're like, "Wait, what? Like you bought a Pokemon card this week?"
I lean on the I'm a software engineer.
Yeah.
Nobody knows I have a YouTube channel until someone finds out. Actually, my family, I was doing a live stream playtesting with some people, and we had just a bunch of viewers in, and chat was going, and then my phone was blowing up. My uncle, my aunt, and my dad, who are subscribed to Hometown TCG, had it up on their various TVs, and we're like, and they were saying things like, "Oh, of course it's a staunch response. You didn't see staunch response go." Like they're saying card names, and they have no clue what's going on. They have no idea. And I had to like put my phone down because I was laughing too. I was like, "This is just too funny. I have to mute this and find a way to put it away." So I get what you're saying, but it sounds like it was a sweet environment. I mean, it sounds like it was fun. It would have been really cool to go, but I couldn't make it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that whole thing. You clearly invited me. It would have been very awesome to hang out. I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but I'm glad you had fun.
Next time
for sure. And at the Calling Indie, which you're clearly going to go to.
I'm not. They announced it after I made plans. Like I somebody was getting into this on Twitter.
Make plans.
I can't. I have a family.
Bring them.
No, absolutely not.
Oh my God. Bring them.
Oh,
I will bring my wife, and they can hang out.
Event for wives? Is there like a side event?
No,
that's like
there is a side event for wives. There is a side event.
I'll tell you what. If they do a side event that's learn to play Flesh and Blood for your wife, then I will go.
Bro, no, you're missing the big brain play here. You bring your wife, I bring my wife. They become best friends, and then we get to hang out all the time.
From
you, I'm telling you to move to Chicago. You're telling me to move to Ohio, Florida, Virginia, wherever you are.
Florida. Let's do a TCG stream house in Florida.
Are you paying all the bills?
No, the TCG stream house will pay the bills.
Oh, this sounds like I don't have any responsibilities. I'm in.
Yeah. All right, that's the end of the episode. It's 1:30. I got to edit the episode for launch at 9 a.m. So
don't apologize for our podcast.
I'm not apologizing. I'm hanging up on you. Thank you for watching. You can find us at reactionphase.com and kitchentablетcg.com and at youtube.com/c/HometownTCG. And
you don't have to say the C. You can just say HometownTCG.
No, what? I think you do.
No, you don't. Type youtube.com/hometown. youtube.com/HometownTCG. You can find us, follow us on our socials. There'll be a bunch of links in the video description. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, my name is Josh.
And I'm Louie.
And we will see you all around. Goodbye.
And remember to be kind to the people around you.
Don't even do that. Just don't do that.